welcome to our Junior College Planning Night. We are going to go ahead and get started. As you filed in, there are some folders up near that corner of the pack, so feel free to step up and grab one now if you haven't done so already, or they will be there at the end of the presentation for you to grab for reference. But welcome to our Junior College Planning Night. My name is Carly DePaulo. I am one of the school counselors here at Wadsworth High School. And I am going to kick off our presentation by going through some Wadsworth High School specific resources, as well as just things that are important for our students who are moving from their junior to their senior year. So the first item that I would like to talk about is our new college planning tool, which is SchoolLinks. So you may have heard of SchoolLinks throughout this school year because we actually used it for course planning to assist our students in selecting their schedules for next year. So at this point, all of our students are familiar with the SchoolLinks platform. Within SchoolLinks, there is a college planning tool, and we are seeing a lot of benefits to SchoolLinks, including increased utility. So we have our students signing in periodically to do these college career planning assessments and work on their course and graduation plans. Another purpose of SchoolLinks is that transparency of information. So I will do a quick demonstration in a couple of slides of what SchoolLinks looks like in case you haven't seen it from the parent or the student perspective. But it's really neat. You can actually see your student's transcript in there. So you can see their school record of all the grades that they have gotten. And that's going to be a very important key element that plays into college planning, your student transcript. And you'll also be able to see test scores and information like that you prior to this did not necessarily have direct access to. In addition to that, we're seeing like an amazing expansion of the college and career planning and exploration tools in SchoolLinks. So some uses that we're seeing during junior year, there's a school search feature that allows students to input their own individualized criteria that they're looking for. And help narrow down options for them after graduation based on their interests and what they're looking for in a given school. And then we are also strongly encouraging juniors to start favoriting schools, building out lists, so that way they can start planning for college application season this upcoming fall. So some further college planning uses during senior year. So some features that your junior might not be able to access right now, but starting in summer, they will be able to see. SchoolLinks becomes a very vital tool as a communication device between ourselves, the counseling team, the students, and the colleges. So it allows for us to send information back and forth. SchoolLinks is the way that we know when and where a student is applying to school. So your student will receive many trainings and active ways for them to see how to go about using this in an effective way. But it is very important to let us know when your student's applying so that way we make sure we're able to meet all necessary deadlines. SchoolLinks is also used to send student transcripts to their colleges, and it's how our teachers submit letters of recs. So just to quickly show you what SchoolLinks looks like. So this is my student demonstration. So I am logged in right now as an 11th grade student. So theoretically, this is very similar to what your student's screen would look like if they signed in. All parents do have access through whichever email they used for their progress book login. However, I do highly recommend using their student login and having your student log in and sitting alongside them because they get some additional features, and I think it's a much more user-friendly interface to be able to look and see these different features. So to highlight a couple of the college planning resources and tools in here, under the Colleges tab, we have our school search feature. So this is that area where students are able to filter by different kinds of criteria, including like the type of campus that they're looking for, school size, admissions rates, you name it. You'll see on this screen, it is just filtered by Ohio public and private schools. So every single school under that category is popping up right now, but you can filter it by geographic area, look at out-of-state schools, etc. So there's a lot in there to be able to look and start that exploration process. Also in there, in terms of like finding data and finding your student-specific information, if your student goes under the school tab and goes to scores and performances, since this is a demo student, there's not really anything in there right now because this isn't a student that actually exists, but you would be able to see your student's actual data in here, including their cumulative GPA, their unweighted GPA, as well as ACT scores and any other scores and attempts that they've taken in here. So it's a very helpful resource, especially as you do dive into those college applications come time of senior year. It's nice to be able to reference those at your fingertips. Another cool feature in here for students who are interested in looking more at careers and opportunities after high school. We do have like a career center in here where you can filter by the degree needed. So you can look at jobs and careers that need a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, or no degree at all. And you can take a look at job openings in Ohio. You can search that by geographic area or different interest and different career clusters. So there's a lot in there to play around with, and we highly encourage students to get in there and dive in at their own time and start looking around at those. To pop back to the presentation, some other resources that we have here at Wadsworth High School. One of those is just encouraging students to go out and take a campus visit. So we do allow our students to have excused absences for college visits, and that college visit does extend to military visits as well as job shadowing experiences. The main priority that we need in order to consider that an excused absence is we have to have a parent or guardian report that visit in the Visit You app ahead of time, as well as the student will need to bring back proof of that visit to the attendance office. And once both of those are met, that will be considered an excused absence and won't count against you attendance-wise. Campus visits are very highly suggested. We highly encourage students to get out there, walk physically on a college campus. Many colleges offer campus tours through their admissions department, so it's great to schedule an actual campus tour, get that formal experience of being able to see residence halls, get to learn about academics, and just see the campus while it's in action. Some good recommendations are to take pictures and notes as you're going on multiple campus tours. It's really easy to get them all jumbled in your brain. So we recommend coming prepared with questions, taking pictures, and just covering your bases so that you can remember what you saw. And we also encourage students to try and go when schools are in session, so that way you can get a good observation of what campus life looks like. If you are unable to go on a campus visit, we do actually have opportunities where college representatives will come here and visit Wadsworth High School, which is an excellent networking opportunity to be able to talk with an actual representative from that given college that you're interested in. So they frequently pop in where they are able to answer application questions about the admissions process, and overall are just very friendly and ready to meet students. So this is something that is very active in the fall, and that you can sign up for through School Links. So you will see a lot of representatives from the local public schools and private colleges coming to visit Wadsworth High School. Another resource that we offer here is called College Now. So we partner with them, and they provide free appointments and meetings with both families and students throughout the school day. So they can sit down and fill out the FAFSA with you. You'll learn a little bit more about the FAFSA later tonight and what that is. They can assist with scholarship searches, college applications, the whole works. So that is just a really great opportunity to get some individualized assistance in wherever you are in your college planning process. So there's always a link available to sign up through the guidance website that also frequently gets posted in the class of 2025 Google Classroom. But they are only here about like 15 days a year, so it's something where they're not here on a set schedule, so you just have to kind of look at the schedule and see what days they're available and what fits your needs. A couple of things we encourage your student to do now. Continue to maintain strong grades. Junior year is a very important year when it comes to your student transcript. Oftentimes it's the last set of final grades that a college will see prior to them being admitted to that university. So we really recommend finishing this year off strong, continue their activity involvements, start visiting campuses if you haven't done so already. Do your research, start making those lists, start having those conversations around the dining room table about college plans and what comes next after high school. We encourage students to start interviewing people and exploring potential career paths after high school. This time of year is a good time to start considering who to ask in terms of teachers for letters of recommendation. You don't necessarily have to ask them yet, but maybe have those people in the back of your mind that you think would be a good asset to be able to speak well to your student's ability. And then we encourage you to take the ACT. So one thing that we've all done as a junior class is we've already taken the ACT on our state testing day. But if you see a score that doesn't necessarily meet what you would like it to, we highly encourage students to take another attempt. And between now and fall is a great time to do that. Everybody needs a plan. Be active and diligent. Work on setting up that timeline with your student and start early. Fall will be here before we know it, so make sure that you are on top of it, asking questions, and as always, feel free to reach out as you are working through this process. We are more than happy to help you here at Wadsworth High School. And to speak to that, this is very much not the last presentation that you or your student will receive. There are a lot of opportunities for college planning information and programming from this point forward. So the next kind of big one on the horizon to be on the lookout for is Senior College Boot Camp, which takes place on the same day as senior schedule pickup. It's usually that hour right beforehand. We have a senior college planning lesson that we go into every single classroom and have that conversation with students again to give them some additional training on School Links and how to go about their college application process. And then we also offer a financial aid night, typically in October. So all of those are some upcoming like one-time big events to keep in mind that will be coming up in the near future. And then some ongoing events that you or your student might see advertised throughout the school year are some college application help days. We offer individual senior meetings between counselors and students. There's those College Now appointments, the college rep visits. We also offer scholarship search help days, and then we have an ongoing career speaker series where individuals from the community will come in and speak to aspects of their career. So all of these are great opportunities and tools to have in your kit to be able to move forward and help you advance through that college and career planning aspect of your senior year. And with that, I am one of your school counselors. My alphabet is L through RH, and the other counselors are listed there too. I appreciate your time, but I am going to hand over the rest of the presentation to Michelle from the University of Akron.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful evening to talk about college planning. It's great to see parents and students here tonight. I'm Michelle Stastis from the University of Akron's admissions office. I'm going to be kind of taking off my University of Akron hat tonight to talk with you in general about college planning. I've worked at the University of Akron for a number of years, so sometimes it's hard to take that hat off, so I might use the University of Akron in a few examples and talking about things. Like you parents, I have a junior myself at home, so I'm kind of going through the exact same thing you're going through right now, so I understand the stress that you're under. But hopefully we can talk a little bit more about just, kind of a timeline of what to do now during the junior year and getting into senior year, what everything kind of really looks like. So in the picture that we have on the screen here, college is just ahead. It's hard to believe your students are already juniors, and the senior year will be here before you know it. And just think about it, this time next year, your students are going to be making decisions about where they plan to go after high school. It'll be here before you know it. So your students have a lot of options after high school. They can go directly into the workforce, go into the military, trades. We're going to be focusing tonight about preparing for college. These are some of the topics we're going to cover this evening. We're going to talk about the value of education, the college characteristics of the different types of schools, the different college options, college search and campus visits. We'll talk a little bit more about that process, what the college application process is going to look like senior year. We're going to talk about test optional and ACT and SAT tests. We're talking about the hard stuff, developing the plan to finance your education, what you need to do to apply for financial aid, and then just kind of making that final decision, which again will be this time next year. So first off, I want to just talk a little bit about the value of education, because we'll talk a little later on. I'll give you some examples of some colleges and what their costs are for this current year. And I always like to preface this by saying it's sticker price before financial aid or scholarship, so that price does dwindle down. But if you think about it, it's really an investment in your student, and they're going to be attending this college to pursue a degree, to get them into a career that fits their interests. So it's definitely, while college is expensive and we have many pathways to assist your families with paying for college, it is definitely an investment in your student and in their future career. So college graduates tend to earn 56% more than those with just a high school diploma, and a typical college graduate earns more than $1 million over the course of their lifetime than someone that just has a high school degree. That does also increase if you have an advanced degree. So if a student gets a bachelor's degree, but then also goes on and maybe the career they're interested in requires a master's or PhD or a law degree or a medical degree, obviously that'll increase as well too. So right now, your students are probably gathering information about colleges. You're probably being bombarded with materials on a daily basis in the mail from various colleges. Some that you're like, where is this even at? Never heard of this school. So every college is unique, has different characteristics. And I think it's important for students to really kind of reflect on what they're looking for in kind of a college experience. So what type of institution they might be looking at size-wise. Are you looking to stay close to home, looking to go away? What do you have in terms of an idea? If you have a major in mind, you certainly want to be looking for a school that's going to offer the academic program you're interested in. And if you don't have a major in mind, you want to know that they're going to have support services that kind of help you pick a major. Perhaps you were involved in an activity in high school and you want to make sure that that college is offering an ability for you to continue that interest in that activity. So Maybe you're looking for a certain type of size of school, small versus large or medium. So there's lots of different characteristics to consider. And sometimes I always like to say it's good to take a look at the opposite of what you think you might want, because sometimes you might be surprised what you think you might want, and kind of open your eyes to something new. So your students have different types of options after high school when thinking about college. There's three primary things we're going to talk about tonight. And community colleges, the public four-year colleges and universities, and then the privates. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the attributes of each. The websites that are listed here are specific to Ohio. I might be biased, I grew up in Ohio, I've lived in Ohio all my life, but we have some amazing colleges here in Ohio, some great opportunities that are not a far drive from here. So some of the resources you'll see listed here are obviously Ohio schools. We have quite the diversity in terms of institutions here in Ohio, whether it's public, private, or community colleges. So if your student is thinking about staying in Ohio, these would be some good resources to gather some quick information. So let me talk a little bit at first about community colleges. So we have a number of community colleges here in our local area. If you visit this website, it's going to give you details about all of the community colleges in Ohio and give you some attributes of it and all in kind of one place. Community colleges are known to have a more career-specific or technical programs. So, maybe if you go to a public or private four-year college, you're taking some general classes, some English and social sciences and natural sciences. Maybe with a technical degree, you're going maybe a few of those, but then you're going really into the heart of your major. The community colleges have some great transfer programs where your students can start off there with the ultimate goal to continue their education at, let's say, a public or private four-year university to obtain a bachelor's degree. So some great connections to make it easy for your students to start there and then continue their education to advance their degrees. We have some good partnership programs. Lorain County Community College is a great example of that. They have some partnership programs with public and private universities where students can obtain a bachelor's degree via these partnership programs that they offer. Our community colleges are known for having lower tuition costs in comparison to the public and private counterparts. Close to home, and then that TED database, which is a great resource, especially if anyone in this audience has students who've done CCP coursework as part of their high school experience. The TED database, you can kind of plug in courses that your student has taken at whatever college and see how it transfers to whatever school they're interested in. So that's a great resource for transferability coursework. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the public universities in Ohio. The website that's listed here, OPUAC, is Ohio Public Universities Admissions Counselor Association. They have a booklet, so if your students are thinking Ohio, thinking public, I recommend downloading the booklet. It refreshes every September, so the booklet there will be updated in September, but it has like a one-page prospectus on every Ohio public university. It's going to tell you application deadlines, tuition costs, and other really helpful information. So if your students are thinking Ohio Publics, I definitely recommend downloading that booklet that's on that website. So we have 13 public universities in Ohio. A lot of the public universities in Ohio offer a wide range of majors. So some of us have 200 or 300 or more majors that we offer students to study. There's a broad range of opportunities and life experiences available through the public universities. There's a lot of diversity in terms of types of institution too. We have some that are more metropolitan settings, some that are more rural. A lot of the public universities in Ohio are what we consider mid-size or large universities in terms of student enrollment. Some other attributes of our public universities, they're often known as having affordable tuition options, I guess in comparison to the private schools. Offer strong financial assistance programs based on academic profile or merit, and then also based on family financial need that might be reported on the FAFSA form, which we'll talk about. Some great ability to transfer credits from community colleges. I know my institution that I work for, we have some great articulation agreements with the community colleges, and you can really kind of use that TED database to see how things can transfer easily back and forth from institutions. The public universities have a lot of graduate or professional degree opportunities for students who are interested in continuing their education beyond a bachelor's degree. Some of us have regional campuses as well too, so Akron is a perfect example of that. We're fortunate to have 2 regional campuses in your area, our Wayne campus in Oroville, our Medina campus in Lafayette Township. And then we have major sports programs and campus activity opportunities for students. Lastly, we'll talk about the private universities and colleges. The website that's listed there, they also have a similar kind of booklet, and they have website links for all the all the private universities. But private universities are often known for having smaller class sizes in comparison to the publics, that low faculty-student ratio, and that faculty-student ratio is a way to gauge how many faculty, teachers they have on campus in comparison to students. So you'll find usually a lower number there with the private universities. There's more opportunities for student engagement, student leadership, getting involved in campus sport programs and other opportunities, more hands-on learning. And then with the privates, there's also a lot of diversity in terms of religious affiliation, locations, sizes, and then also costs. So now that we've talked a little bit about the different types of colleges, and you're in that process right now as juniors where you're focusing on just gathering all the information about colleges, maybe making campus visits, and kind of preparing for senior year when you're going to start that application process. Here's just some quick advice for the college search process. I think it's first important to reflect on just your reasons as a student for why you want to attend college, what interests you in terms of your academic program and career, and just kind of use that to kind of maybe also help guide you with your college search process. School Links is amazing. I recommend your student use that resource. It's going to be a great way for them to do some research to find out information about universities, and then ultimately when they get into their senior year will be helpful with the application process. We also recommend using college websites. You can gather a lot of information on a college website. I think back to when I was in high school, I think the web didn't exist. So I think our students now have like the touch of just typing in a few keys on a keyboard. You can get to a campus website, click on a link at the top of the page to watch a virtual tour of their campus while you're sitting at home, comfy in your pajamas. You can chat with somebody online, you can get your questions answered. I think there's a lot of good resources that can come from visiting websites. But certainly that human interaction of making a campus visit, talking to a real person is also so much important in this process too. One way to do that is attend a college fair. We're kind of closing to the end of the school year. I know your students have just a few weeks left, and they're going to be officially seniors. In the fall, there is a great college fair that is hosted here in Medina County at the Medina County Fairgrounds. It's usually on a Wednesday night, mid-October, and so that's a great way for your student, especially if they've conducted their college search process already and just want to pick up some new information from the colleges that interest them. It's a good way to kind of, get to a number of colleges all in one place. Typically they have like around 80 different colleges and universities that participate in that college fair. And I'm sure you'll hear more about it as that date gets closer. I think it's good too if your students utilize social media. Sometimes colleges will have maybe a student-run account that they have a student take over and give you a day in their life as a student at that university. And so that's kind of cool to see the opportunities that students have at that university. So you can, follow along and see, what the average day is like for a student there at that university. And then just the main accounts for those universities also is helpful to gather information. So if you use social media, I think that's a great way to it. I know my student at home learns a lot by watching YouTube. So you can even find videos on YouTube or college tours on YouTube, so that's a great way to get some information too. If your student has schools in mind that they're interested in, I highly recommend contacting the Office of Admissions, making sure you're on their mailing list or communications list. If you're not already, you could quickly email them, or once you schedule a visit with them, you're automatically going to be on their mailing list and getting information on them. Get to know the admissions representative for your school. So I happen to be the admissions representative for the University of Akron for Medina County, so I work with students from Medina County, and a lot of colleges are set up in a similar format, where they might have an admissions representative that covers a county or perhaps the entire state. Especially if they're a school from outside of Ohio, they might have all of Ohio. So it's good to get to know that person, because that person can help guide you through your investigation into learning more about that college and setting up a campus visit, or help you once you've applied with what you need to do next. And then ultimately, when you're in your senior year and trying to make that final decision, that admissions representative can, help you along the way in making that final decision. And that person can also serve as an advocate for you and help, really guide you through the process. Usually you can find out who your admissions representative is for a particular school by just visiting the admissions website for a college. Usually they have like a contact us page, and you can type in some information and it'll tell you who your admissions person is. Schedule those appointments for campus visits. I know pretty soon you're going to be on summer break. Summer is a convenient time to go visit colleges because maybe students are away from school and you don't want them to miss school. Maybe you have vacation plans and it's really convenient to visit some schools along the way. Summer, I will just be honest with you, at a lot of college campuses are very quiet. They have less students on campus in the summer, so it doesn't give you a true picture of what that college is going to be like during the regular academic year. But it is a good start. If summer works for you to visit college campuses, I encourage you to do that. If it's a school that's on the top of your list, I would just recommend also going back and doing maybe another visit in the fall when school's in session, so you can see what the real culture is like when all the students are there on campus. I know for me, my son and I, we visited one school last summer. I also have a niece that's a senior, so we've been doing double duty, and I've been traveling with them a little earlier for my son just because of his niece. So, we started last summer and, visiting a college campus in the summer. They're all pretty quiet. And then, we're going back and looking at some other schools. And so we'll do some other visits in the summer as well, too. I think it's helpful when you're visiting these campuses to, maybe after you visit, make a to-do list. So advantage and a to-do list in terms of what your student needs to do senior year to enroll at that school. So, what deadlines are coming up, what opportunities they need to do in terms of to have the maximum opportunities for scholarship and financial aid consideration. Just jot down those notes. And then maybe weigh advantages and disadvantages while it's fresh in your mind. What you liked about the school, what you didn't like about that school. If you wanted to do a second visit, maybe make some notes about what would be helpful. If we go back, I want to definitely meet with the academic area if you didn't do that before, or whatever it might be. And then just kind of, like I said, keep track of those deadlines, because as Mr. Paulo mentioned, it will all run together when you're looking at a lot of schools, and we're all different. We all have different deadlines, so keep track and keep careful notes. Here's some examples of things you can do for a campus visit. Meet with an admissions counselor, someone like myself that's going to talk with you and share information with you about the school. Tell you how many students go to that school, how many majors are offered, all the details about the institution. Verify admissions requirements, what you need to do to apply for admissions, help you create that to-do list, things you need to do your senior year to be a student at that college. I know for us at Akron, when we have students visit, one of the things we do, we have like what we call an enrollment checklist, and it's a sheet of paper, two-sided, that basically tells you everything you need to do. So you can basically use that as your checklist. I'm sure other colleges offer something similar to that as well. You want to think about college costs, so that way you know, just kind of what everything would be. So tuition, if your student's going to have to live on campus, what housing, meal plan is going to cost. If they can park on campus, what the parking cost is like. And then just talk about those financial aid opportunities, so that way you know what you need to do for those to have the best experiences with getting aid. Take a tour of campus, because you obviously want to see the campus, see what everything looks like, see the main buildings that students utilize, a classroom, the library, maybe the student union or student center, the rec center, or residence hall. You want to maybe learn more about your major. So if you have something in particular in mind that you're interested in studying, you might want to investigate that by meeting with a faculty member or current student in that major, so you can hear about the opportunities you'd have if you came to that school and were studying that program. And then ultimately you want to talk about what your chances are for getting in, and then graduation, and then job placement. So you can find out what those outcomes are for students going into the major field you're thinking about. I really do think every campus has a personality. I think for those of you that have started your college search process and visited campuses, you may have noticed that already. It's just a matter of finding the right fit for you as a student. So some things that you can do now to prepare during your junior year for the high school application process is, really continuing to do that college search process, gathering information, going to college fair, visiting colleges. Keep working hard in your classes. As Mr. Paulo mentioned, it is really true. By the time you apply as a high school senior, we're going to see your transcript 9th grade through 11th grade. Your transcript will probably be in progress senior year when you apply. Ultimately, you'll send us your final high school transcript when that's available, but colleges will look at 9th, 10th, and 11th grade when making their admissions decisions. And so it's really important to finish strong during your junior year. Continue your involvement in activities in and out of school, and then consider whether or not you want to take the ACT or SAT. I know you took it just recently, the ACT, and you may want to consider taking it again in the summer or in the early fall. What can you expect with the college admission process? So again, college applications will roll out usually around August 1st of the student's senior year. Some typical things that you can expect is a college application, which is available on the website, or we'll talk a little bit about something called the Common App, which is a grouping of a number of colleges, and you fill out one application. It can go to any of the partners with Common App. But an application for admission is typical. High school transcript you can expect to be as part of the admission process. Some things are going to vary by institution, which include application fees. Some schools charge an application fee. Some schools will actually, if they do have a fee, might waive it if you visit the campus. We were just at a school visiting with my son last week where they said if you visited and you filed your FAFSA by, I think it was December 1st, you were automatically given a $500 book scholarship by just doing that. So that was pretty cool incentive. So letters of recommendation might be required based on the institution, an essay, test scores. A lot of schools are moving to test optional. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Some schools could also ask for a list of activities. When you get into that time of your senior year, early fall, where you're applying for admission to schools, just keep track of the schools that you're interested in. Look back at that to-do list. Make sure you're observing your deadlines for admission. Maybe narrow your choices. So if you have a lot of interest in colleges, just think about it when you start to apply to colleges. If they do have a fee, which many do, some do offer those incentives, but some of the when you start to apply to numerous schools, those fees can add up and be expensive. So in terms of what's the perfect amount, it varies based on every student. Some students maybe 3 to 5 works for them. For others, they're applying to more schools because maybe their decision is going to be more based on finances, and so it's a matter of getting the best financial package. So more applications might be something they're interested in doing. Everyone has their magic number. I would definitely say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Oftentimes, this time of year, we have students who have said, I'm going to go out of state, I'm going to go out of state, I'm going to go to this school, and then maybe something's changed during their senior year. Family situation, or they just get nervous to move away, and then they decide they want to stay closer to home. So I always recommend, if you have a student that's thinking to go away to college, still apply to a school that's close to home, because that way you've done everything you need to do to meet those deadlines and have that as a backup choice in case plans change. Again, review those to-do lists. Also inquire to, some colleges might have a separate application process for the major, so something also to be asking during the campus visit, just making sure, if a student wants to major in engineering, do they need to do anything besides applying to that college? If my student wants to be in the honors college at your university, do they just apply for admission, or do they have to also apply to the honors college? All right, so I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit about admissions testing. So you probably have heard a lot about the ACT and the SAT. The websites for both exams are listed here. You could click on those websites or type in those websites, and you'll get information to the test dates if your students are interested in registering to take the ACT again, or take the SAT, which is the College Board website. A lot of schools have moved to test optional policy, which gives your students the ability to make the decision about whether or not they want to submit test scores as part of the application process. I think having a conversation at the schools that you're interested about that and whether that's your student should submit test scores or not is a good conversation to have with an admissions person like myself. Will be able to guide you and give you a recommendation for your student. You know, a lot of that information also too, whether or not a school is test optional or not, is going to be on the admissions websites too. Some things that you can do to help prepare to take one of these exams. The first thing that your students have been doing for the last almost 3 years is taking a solid curriculum in high school. Really prepares a student to do well on that exam. And if they took it just, let's say, a month or so ago, just think about if they take it again in June, all the other coursework that they've had over the last couple months that will help them prepare to be successful on that exam in June. Studies show that usually if a student takes, let's say, the exam once and then they take it again for a second time, usually the student's scores go up more than 50% of students have their score go up. So if you think about it, the second time you take it, you're a little bit more relaxed, you know what to expect. So usually in that case, students do score higher. More than, like I said, 50% of students score higher. There's a lot of great resources to help you prepare to take those exams. They have apps, they have Khan Academy, and many other resources that are really great to help your students. And you know, they even have the old-fashioned books in the library that we used to use when we studied for the ACT or the SAT exam that you can use to kind of help prepare you. So how do colleges use ACT and SAT test results? For those that are using it as part of the admissions process, we'll use it to make admissions decisions, along with looking at your students' high school transcripts to see the courses that they've taken, how well they've done in those courses. Many schools, like I said, have test optional policies, and so just having that conversation when you're meeting with an admissions representative about whether or not it would be beneficial to submit your test scores, I think is a good conversation to have. Test scores can also be helpful for course placement during your student's freshman year. So at the University of Akron, we have about 60% of students that apply test optional. Over the last couple of years since we went test optional, it's been high 50s, around 60%. But we still tell students, especially this time of year, that they can submit test scores for us to have on file because it can be helpful to bypassing some placement exams once they're a student. So sometimes we can use those test scores to say, okay, well, this student has a high enough ACT test score in math that they don't have to take the math placement exam. Based on that math ACT score, they can place in X math class. So that's another way that colleges use test results other than admissions decisions. And then also some schools use it for scholarship opportunities. In particular at Akron, while we're test optional for admission and test optional for general scholarship consideration based on merit. But our honors college is moving to being a test score required starting next year, which just means that when you apply to the honors college at Akron, you just have to have 8 test scores submitted as part of that process. So, you know, each school is a little bit unique. And we do have a scholarship at the University of Akron for honor students that is a full tuition scholarship. It includes tuition, housing, and meal plans, so it has a minimum test score that you have to be considered for that. So that's another reason why test scores can be helpful. So is getting into college difficult? I want to talk about the different types of application and admissions policies. So senior year, early fall, your students are applying for admission. Colleges have different types of way that they handle admission. So some schools are open admissions, which means that anyone who graduates from that graduates from that high school or has a GED can be considered for admission. Some schools are selective, where they're looking for a certain, maybe a minimum GPA requirement to be eligible to be admitted to that school. And then there are some schools that are highly selective or competitive, where maybe they have an idea of exactly how many students they're able to admit to that university for that year, and they're taking the highest students in terms of GPA information, maybe test score information. So, we have different types of policies. You could still have a school that might be more open or selective in admissions, but then they have another process to be considered for a major. So an example of that might be where you might have an institution that is, maybe takes, let's say, a 2.5 GPA or higher for admission, but to get into, let's say, nursing, you have to have at least, let's say, a 3.0 GPA or something like that. So these are also good things to be asking in those campus visits. So I want to share with you some words you're going to hear a lot about over the next year. We talked a little bit already about application fee. A lot of colleges require an application fee. One thing to mention is that if any families have financial need, there is a fee waiver that can be submitted so that students don't have to worry about the application fee as part of the application process, so keep that in mind. I mentioned Common App earlier. It's more than 1,000 colleges across the country that are together, where your student can fill out the Common Application while it's a little bit more lengthy in terms of just usually like a application you might find on an individual college website. It is faster if you're applying to multiple schools. If all of those schools are part of the Common App, you're filling out that one Common App, listing the schools part of Common App you're applying to, they receive your information instead of filling out all of those separate applications. So it is kind of nice that way. The free application for federal student aid is the financial aid application. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here on the next slides. You'll hear terminologies in terms of rolling admissions. So basically, rolling admissions is an institution that once they gather the information as part of the application process and everything has been submitted, they will make an admissions decision. So they don't wait till a few months down the road to let your student know that they've been admitted. A rolling admission school is going to let you know soon after, within a few weeks after everything's been received. Students can apply early decision. This is where it's binding. So if a student applies early decision and they're offered the opportunity to enroll at that school, they're accepted, they need to decline any other school that they've been admitted to. So it's for students that are really looking at some of those maybe more elite schools. Early action is non-binding, so it's very different from early decision. Might be where a school says, if you apply by X deadline, we'll let you know by this date, and you're not obligated to enroll at that school. You're going to hear springtime of your senior year a lot about an enrollment deposit, confirmation fee, whatever the school might call it, but that's once you're admitted to university and you have intentions to enroll at that school, the school will collect a deposit from you to be able to hold your student's space. And oftentimes, sometimes the schools will have, let's say maybe a deadline that you can cancel and still get your deposit back too, so that's another question to ask. Usually some schools too, once you deposit, then you're able to apply for housing, get orientation, get registered for classes and whatnot. All right, so let's talk about the cost of education, and we're going to talk about finances. So in terms of the big picture of what to expect with the total cost of college, you're going to have your tuition and your miscellaneous fees. Miscellaneous fees could be like course fees. Let's say your student registers for a chemistry class that has a lab. There's a $10 lab fee for the equipment. Could be an institutional technology fee, random things like that. Housing and meal plan if your student's going to live on campus. Books and supplies, which is going to vary based on what classes your student's taking. And I will just say students are really savvy these days. They rent their textbooks. They borrow their textbooks. They use the library system to get textbooks. So that's going to really vary. And then transportation. So if your student's commuting to that college, obviously that's going to be a lot for gas, back and forth, and car, personal expenses, and then just other fees. This is an example below of here in Northeast Ohio, some of the institutions and what the college cost is. I know sometimes when I used to do these presentations, families didn't really know what it costs to visit colleges. I know I visited some colleges with my son where cost was never talked about. They never said, okay, well, tuition is this amount. We would talk about the application process and what you needed to apply for financial aid, but we never said what the amount was to go there. So I always like to just kind of share this just to kind of give you a comparison. So Cuyahoga Community College is obviously a community college. We talked earlier about the different types of institutions. We have our Wayne campus, which is a regional campus. You see tuition prices there. You'll see the main campus, which is a public university, Cleveland State, which is a public university, and then 2 privates listed there for tuition. The one thing I just encourage you to keep in mind is this is tuition only. So for example, if you lived in Akron or if you lived at John Carroll, there'd be an extra cost for housing and meal plan. And this is always before financial aid and scholarships. Keep in mind, a lot of schools have very generous programs to make college more affordable. So this is your sticker price before financial aid. I know for us at Akron, last year it was more than 85% of our students were received some type of financial aid or scholarships as part of the admission process. Visited a private university last week with my son, their number was 95%. So keep in mind, a lot of people qualify for financial aid and scholarships. It's important to start that conversation, if you haven't yet already, about all college costs, how is the bill going to be paid for college, what parents can contribute, what students can contribute, what savings are there, is your student working, what do they have from their earnings that they can apply to their education. Then, senior year, you're going to be applying for financial aid, you're going to be applying for scholarships, and that type of thing. I mentioned we talk about the FAFSA form, the free application for federal student aid. I know you've heard about this form because unfortunately it has really been in the news this year. The FAFSA was updated. Typically it rolls out October 1st of every student's senior year. And this year there were some changes made to it, so it didn't roll out till December 31st. And we have many seniors that are still waiting to get their financial aid packages that in any other year would have had it already in their hands. So I'm hoping, in talking with the financial aid professionals at the institution that I work for and others, I've heard that we hope that the government's going to get everything correct so that the FAFSA will be available for your 2025 graduates on October 1st, like it has been in previous years. And hopefully all the changes with the FAFSA, by the time your students are submitting it, everything will be worked out. The FAFSA form is a free application, and so keep in mind that you should not have to pay to have that completed. There have been some scammers in the past that have created websites where there's a charge for it, but the actual real application there is no charge for. Here in Ohio, we have, like I said, a lot of great colleges that are in our backyard. Typically, a lot of them in the late fall, once the FAFSA becomes available in October, we'll have financial aid help nights. So I know at the University of Akron, we typically have a financial aid help Sunday. It's in the afternoon on a Sunday, and a student can come to our campus, and our financial aid office representatives will help a student fill out the FAFSA form, even if they're not interested in attending Akron. We're just here to really kind of, as a public service, help students with filling out the FAFSA form. A lot of private and public colleges and community colleges in Ohio offer these services in late fall, so kind of keep that in mind if you need help. You're going to have that financial aid planning night here at your high school in the fall too, so be on the lookout for that. That's a great session to attend because they'll talk with you about what you need to do to fill out the FAFSA form and answer any questions that you might have, and then you always have that resource too in knowing that a lot of colleges offer that help day. You're going to use your prior year tax information to fill out the FAFSA form, and the FAFSA form is a very important form because it really determines your students' eligibility for programs to help pay for college, including grants, money that's gift money you don't have to pay back, loans, money you do have to pay back, and then some institutions will offer need-based scholarships, which might be determined through the FAFSA forms. And then they might offer work-study programs where your student can work on that college campus, earn money through their employment, and they can apply it towards their education. So, when you're visiting college campus, they're going to tell you that their school has a priority deadline that they'd like to receive the FAFSA forms by for the best chances for consideration. A lot of schools operate with a priority deadline. Typically, you could hear something like November 15th, December 1st, January 1st as a priority deadline of when schools want to see the FAFSA submitted by. The one thing that I like about the FAFSA form is, so instead of filling out a financial aid form for every school your student's applying to, let's say your student applies to 5 schools. They fill out the FAFSA form, list all 5 schools on that FAFSA form. It goes off to the U.S. Department of Education. They process that information. Then they send that information out to the 5 schools your student has indicated an interest in. Then each one of those schools is going to process that information and say either one, they need more information from you to be able to give you a student aid report, tell you what aid you qualify for, or they're going to just send you an aid report. Reason why is like randomly about like a third of students are selected for verification, which means they need extra information to determine your aid. But that aid report's going to tell you, okay, the cost of tuition is this much. If your student lives on campus, it's this much. Your student qualifies for X grants if they qualify for that, this amount in loans, your student got this in scholarships. So it gives you a better picture of what it would cost to attend that college. In the meantime, a lot of colleges have a net price calculator on their website. It's on their financial aid page where you can plug in your information before FAFSA and kind of get a good idea of what you might be looking at. But the FAFSA form, very, very important. So a lot of schools, in addition to completing the FAFSA, have generous scholarship programs. And scholarships can be awarded based on a variety of factors. A lot of schools at the time of admission might consider a student for a merit scholarship based on their academic profile, like their high school GPA. There may be scholarship opportunities that are based on leadership, based on performance in a sport, if your student's a student athlete. There's some that are based on, let's say if your student's interested in majoring in music, dance, or theater, might be based on their talent in that area, and then some that are need-based based on the FAFSA. Each school will distribute scholarship information differently, so make sure, when you're visiting campuses that you're taking notes about their scholarship process, if there's separate applications that students need to complete. And then I always strongly encourage you, use the amazing resources that you have here. You have a College Now advisor. I know when Ms. DiPaolo opened up school links there, I saw on the left-hand side there was some suggested scholarships, so there's a lot of local scholarships that your students can apply for. A little bit here, a little bit there, it all adds up and takes off from the total cost to attend college. So this time, senior year, your students are at that point where they're kind of making that final decision. February, March, beginning of April is really when this all comes into play, where you've got your admission letters, you've gotten maybe your financial aid packages, and you're just trying to decide what college you want to enroll in. It's good to maybe narrow your choices, go back and visit schools that maybe if you're on the fence, it's school A or school B, go back and visit both schools and see what the campus is like. Students, you need to show initiative in this process. It's going to be your college experience. So I always love when students are scheduling the visits, students are asking the questions because it's going to be your experience. It's great that parents are involved too, and students, when you get to college, who's going to be doing the work? It's going to be you. So use your admissions counselor as a resource. Talk with your family and your counselors here at your school. You want to pick a college that meets your needs, has what you're looking for, and one that you're going to feel comfortable and feel that you can be successful at. When you decide what college you plan to attend, you'll want to make sure you confirm your enrollment, do that deposit, and then you want to let the colleges know that you don't plan to attend, that you've applied to, that you've made your final decision and plan to go elsewhere. That'll, one, stop the contact and the information that you're getting from those schools that you're no longer interested in, but then it might also help another student by releasing some scholarships that maybe your student was eligible for that can help somebody else out. And just keep in mind, I always like to say, there's so many people here to help you along the way. You've got teachers here, counselors, your College Now advisor, you have your admissions representatives. We're all here to help you in your journey. So here is just a little slide. This is from ACT. I really like this because, we talk a lot about, high school courses and test scores and GPA and how important all of that is. But there's a lot of other success factors in college. It's your study habits, your motivation, taking the right classes, the course placement, your interest, your level of commitment. These are all things that kind of really go into your success factors or your successful college experience. I want to thank you for coming tonight. My contact information is up here. If I can help you at all in your college search process, please let me know. I also want to mention, if you didn't get a folder in the back, we have these resources. A lot of the resources in the folder are from SAT. If you have younger students, even two, besides your junior, there is year by year in high school a planning guide of things to do, 9th and 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. There's also some information about making the most of your campus visits. There's a financial aid resource too, so if you didn't get a folder, make sure you do that. And again, please reach out to me. My contact information's up on the screen and in the PowerPoint notes. If I can help you at all in your college search process, I wish you luck with everything. Enjoy this college experience. It's hard to believe we have juniors already, and I know for me, I want time to slow down a little bit because I know my son's going to go off to college, and it's hard to believe that that day is here already. But I hope you can enjoy this experience as you journey and discover what's the best fit for your student in terms of a college. So thank you.